Ladies and gentlemen, it seems like the Jacob Trouba controversy is finally over. He is headed to the Anaheim Ducks. I just recorded for 20 minutes talking about the Trouba situation today, but dang it, the Ducks went ahead and actually made a deal, and I love to see it. So what is the Jacob Trouba deal to the Anaheim Ducks? What are the trade details? What happens next with both these teams? Well, make sure you watch till the end because we're going to be breaking down the whole deal, and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey trade content leading up to the trade deadline next year. Now, today has been absolutely wild. First, we heard that Jacob Trouba would be getting healthy scratched by the Rangers for trade protection reasons. We heard that he could be going on waivers just for him to not go on waivers. Then we heard the Ducks were emerging as a trade favorites, and now they've gotten the deal done. You guys probably know my opinions on Jacob Trouba by this point. I think he has his moments, the physicality, and some of those fights have been pretty legendary, but at the same time, he's somebody that has been declining almost every single season since he got that C with the New York Rangers, and I think the writing was truly on the wall with his time with New York. I think this was a deal that the Rangers needed to make, a change of scenery that they needed to make, but man, was it ugly with everything that's gone on over the last year, with the failed trade in the offseason, with all the shenanigans this year. It's pretty rough to watch. Now, Anaheim was no surprise to get this deal done. After all, what Pat Verbeek has prioritized, especially in free agency, Jacob Trouba is exactly their type of player. You look at Alex Killorn, especially on that defense, Radko Gudas, two guys who are bruisers in every sense of the word. Jacob Trouba is right up that alley. Especially in Gudas' case, that's a player that I've loved for a long time, really an underrated guy, even though he has that physicality. He's one of the better defensemen in the entire NHL, and the Ducks' defense has vastly improved under him, even though it is still not where it needs to be. I mean, you look at a lot of the names around him, but at the same time, he has changed a lot of that defensive core for the better, and it looks like the Ducks are hoping to do the same with Trouba, though I doubt they'll find the same results. And via Elliotte Friedman, we get the official trade details here. With Trouba going to Anaheim, the Ducks will end up trading away Urho, Vaakanainen, and a draft pick involved. So even though there was a lot of speculation about a Cam Fowler, a Frank Bertrano, even people saying Ryan Strome, no, it's a lot more simple than that. And Pierre LeBrun gives us a lot more info as well, saying the official trade call of the league hasn't happened yet, so still pending that approval, but it will be defenseman Vaakanainen and a 4th round pick to the Rangers for Trouba. And this is what's really important. Ducks take on the full Trouba contract. No salary retained by the Rangers. Wow. Now, this I was not expecting whatsoever. I thought in any Trouba trade, if we were going to see it, we were going to see some salary retention. I mean, that was a key part of why I thought he wasn't going to get waived, was that we would see a trade so that they can have some salary retention, a part of the deal. But the Ducks, I guess, said no, and we're going to give you a 4th round pick for your trouble, Rangers. Don't you worry. Honestly, my first reaction is that I absolutely adore this for the New York Rangers. I think they needed to move a Trouba who at this point was just rotten on this team. It was just a bad situation all around. They needed to move on. Not only are they able to do that with all of the cap involved, I thought they would have needed a trade, a 3rd or maybe even a 2nd rounder to get rid of Trouba and all of his deal, but the Ducks are the team to make it happen, and you know what? I love to see this. This is an absolute W for the Rangers. Any way you slice it, it is a huge win for them. They get paid to give away Jacob Trouba, have no salary retention on the deal, get his contract off the books completely, and reset going forward. And man, I just love that for them. Chris Drury's back was on the wall, I gotta say it, especially with how the Rangers have been playing the past month. The pressure has been on, but these are the type of deals that keep you with your job, and I think this is going to be one that's going to be looked at quite a bit fondly, especially if the Rangers are going to be able to do a lot of that cap space going forward. I think there's some real potential here. Especially when you look at the cap space going forward, this is a huge W for the Rangers for that just reason alone. You have $8 million on Trouba's deal for not just this year, but next. And that gives you a lot of space to especially be able to re-sign Igor Shesterkin. Sure, he has also not had the greatest moments over the past few weeks, but he to me is a priority for this Rangers team. It should absolutely be. That's going to free up a lot of cap space for obviously the player they could end up bringing in, but also for Shesterkin's next deal. Man, I just can't get over that. No salary retention. I just don't understand how that was possible. And the Rangers got paid for no salary retention. Unbelievable job. So yeah, I guess it makes a lot more sense why they didn't end up putting him on waivers. Yeah. Now you look at the player that the Rangers got back, and I wouldn't expect too much out of your Urho Vaakanainen. Sure, he was a former 18th overall pick at just 25 years old, but he's bounced out around already, going from the Bruins to the Ducks and now to the New York Rangers. He had some solid point production last year in 68 games, got 14 points in that Ducks defense, but this year hasn't been much of a factor. I wouldn't be surprised if he is an AHL for the Rangers or potentially just a depth D. I mean, let's be honest, if he wasn't able to regularly make the Ducks defense, I doubt he's going to be regularly able to make the Rangers one either, even though the Rangers defense has its problems. It's a little bit different than Anaheim. games. Still, even if Vaakanainen plays some games, even if he wasn't a part of the deal, just getting a 4th round pick, no matter the year, no matter the situation, is just outstanding for the Rangers. But let's talk about the impact that he could have for that Ducks defense, because it is something to talk about here. Now, coming into this trade, coming into today, the Ducks had the most cap space in the league with 19 and more plus $1 million. So they have a lot of room to bring on Trouba, and they were one of the few teams that was able to bring on Trouba, no strings attached. So they're able to flaunt that. But having Trouba for the next year after this is going to be an interesting one for sure. But the Ducks needed to improve their defense. They need to add some physicality, more on top of what they already did with Radko Gudas. And again, with what Pat Verbeek is prioritizing, the players he likes, Trouba is right at home. I think he'll pretty immediately be able to take Drew Hellison's spot on that 3rd pair, though maybe we see a jumble up where we see maybe Zellweger on the 2nd pair and Trouba up on the 1st, or Gudas on the 1st. I don't know what they end up doing there, but they're going to have a lot more options with Trouba added onto the defense. I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference there, but he's going to be able to bring some juice, some veteran ability, some leadership in the past to a Ducks team that does need it. Now, an interesting wrinkle in all this is that I kind of was expecting Cam Fowler to potentially be a part of this deal. Maybe the Rangers package Trouba and his full cap hit and a pick for Fowler, because Fowler is somebody that we've heard a lot in the rumors over the last couple months for the Ducks. He's somebody that has already requested a trade, is potentially on his way out, hasn't had a great start to the season. So I would have thought that maybe he could be a part of a potential Trouba to the Ducks deal, but he's not. So I think we're still going to see more deals for this Ducks defense. We're still going to see more changes in the future with Fowler out and Trouba in. But the fact that the Ducks did give up Urho Vaakanainen, who is a lefty, maybe gives Cam Fowler a little bit more security for the next little bit. We'll wait and see on that, but I still think Fowler is a pretty big trade piece as we come up here to the NHL trade deadline. At the end of the day for the Ducks, it's a 4th round pick, so it's not the biggest deal in the world, and they are trying to get more competitive. They're trying to be more harder to play against, and that is something that has been a priority for the Ducks over the last couple of years, trying to become more difficult to play against. And Trouba, in some ways, does that with his fighting. In other ways, with his defensive ability, makes it a little bit easier for the other team. But I think in a change of scenery, the Ducks, with a lot more of a lower stakes environment, I think we'll see Trouba rebound. I think we're going to see him in a more offensive role, perhaps as well with Anaheim, which could be more suited to his play style. But just like the Ducks, I don't think the Rangers are going to be done either. I think we will see some more deals, but the fact they traded their captain, he is gone, sends a major message to this Rangers team if the message hasn't already been sent. Your jobs are not secured, ladies and gentlemen. You could be shipped out at any moment if you're on this Rangers team, and hopefully that is something that will juice them up for the future. We'll have to wait and see on that. I think we will see some more changes in the defense, because I don't think this is the lineup the Rangers want to go for going forward, but at the same time, we'll have to wait and see on that. No matter what, though, I'm glad the Rangers are making changes. The status quo was not working for this Rangers team at all, and I'm glad that something has finally happened. Trouba was the player that I think was the most necessary to move, and he is now gone. Now it is up, though, to players like Lindgren and Miller to really pull their weight, or else they could be dealt next. And on the forward group, especially players like Zibanejad and Kreider, who have already been in trade negotiations and in trade rumors in the past, they really need to start going here, because whether it's right or not, the Rangers are making moves, and they're trying to make their team better, and maybe we'll see more moves in the future because of that. Honestly, though, the person I think I'm the most excited for in this deal is Jacob Trouba himself, because even though there's a lot to deal with there, I think there's just been so much that has been negative and toxic over the past year with his relationship to the Rangers, his relationship on the team, and I think it was just a time to go situation. It was a writing on the wall, and I think for Trouba especially, I think his game is going to get better playing in Anaheim in a lower stakes environment on a team that is on the come up, or at least trying to be, and I think Trouba can help them in that category. I don't think he's going to be changing that defense by too much, but I think especially in terms of the juice that he can provide in those tense environments, he's going to be someone that can provide some physicality, some big hits, getting the team going, and I think he'll be on a team that appreciates him more in that role, and I think for Trouba, that'll probably be better for his career. In every single way, though, I think this is a win for the Rangers. They got rid of Trouba, they got rid of his whole contract, and they got paid in the deal to take him. They got an extra depth defenseman and a 4th round pick, and even if it was a 7th and that was it, the fact that you didn't retain any salary is a win in my books in the Trouba deal, but it shows the value around the league that Trouba does have still, that you're able to pay and not give out any salary, not retain any salary, and still get paid to trade for him. So I think for the Rangers, it is a win for them. I think for the Ducks, it could be a win for them, but especially for Trouba, I'm just happy that this situation can be forgotten now and in the past for him, because I think at this point, it was meant to be. Now, something that I wanted to add that I think is very important going forward, we talked about it with the added cap space that will be added for the Igor Shesterkin negotiation, but when we talk about the actual cap space the Rangers will have, I think it is very important because you do get rid of the Jacob Trouba contract, you bring in the Vaakanainen 1.1 million, so that brings you to 8.2 million in cap space after this deal is actually put through, which would put the Rangers from 4th last in the NHL to a pretty good spot actually, within the top 10 in teams with cap space, right up there with teams like the New York Islanders. So it would really give them a lot of flexibility for not just next year, but specifically this year. You have other trades you could potentially make, of course, but I think for the Rangers, it means that they don't have to trade a Zibanejad or a Kreider to bring on more cap space. They can just trade Trouba and now go in potentially the rental direction, or bring in some cap situations now that they might not have been able to otherwise. It gives them a lot more flexibility to now just go after a top 4D or a top 6 forward and just trade picks and prospects if they really wanted to. To give you guys an example, even though it is definitely not going to happen, we heard rumors earlier about the Rangers being interested in Brady Tkachuk, him being their main priority, and now with this deal completed, the Rangers would have enough cap space to just trade for Brady Tkachuk's contract by itself. Again, I don't think the Senators are going to actually make it happen, but just to give you an example of the type of player the Rangers could get, and they wouldn't even have to put any cap shenanigans or any retained salary or nothing. They would just be able to trade for the player itself, and with that added flexibility, that gives the Rangers so much more to work with. Whether they just go for one player and try to use maybe 3 or 4 million for the next Igor contract, that'll be something to keep an eye on, but I think for the Rangers, no matter what, this flexibility is key for what they do going forward, and I think the Rangers are going to be surprising us with a lot of interesting moves. So overall, I'm going to give a big win to the New York Rangers, though I think for the Ducks, it could be very impactful for their locker room and their physicality going forward, so we'll see how it does for them, but even though I don't see them making the playoffs this year, maybe next year when they're trying to be more competitive, it could be an interesting one, and I think for the Trouba contract itself, even though there's no retained salary, it's not a long-term commitment, so I can see where the Ducks are coming from, especially with how much cap space they have to work with, but I want to know down below. This is the real one. I want to know down below what your guys' thoughts are on this deal. What do you think of this Trouba deal? Do you think it was a long time coming? What do you think about the teams involved? What do you think about the pieces involved as well? Do you think it's a win for the Rangers, a loss? Do you think it's a win for the Ducks or a loss for them? What do you think about Trouba going to Anaheim? Do you think he'll rebound there? Let me know all your thoughts down below. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for more trade talk just like this, and share a video with all the Rangers fans, all the Ducks fans, and all the NHL fans you guys know online. And click on this card for all my trade content right in one playlist. My name is Nathan, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.